"What is it, doctor?" she asked, her voice trembling. The doctor sighed. "You were born without a uterus," he said. "This means you cannot carry a baby." She left the office, her mind racing with questions. Why me? She thought. Why did this happen to me? Linda was the jewel of the village, a woman whose beauty was unmatched. Her smooth dark skin shimmered like the evening sky, and her bright almond-shaped eyes drew people in like a magnet. Her smile was so captivating that even the grumpest villagers would find themselves smiling back. Everywhere Linda went, heads turned. Men of all ages admired her. Some women got jealous of her and others wished they could be her friend. She received marriage proposals almost daily. Some men came with flowers, others with gifts, others with money or food. "She's the most beautiful woman this village has ever seen," the elders would say. But Linda wasn't just beautiful. She was confident. She knew her worth and loved the attention she received. However, her beauty also brought problems. Women of her age became jealousy. They whispered behind her back, saying, "She thinks she's better than us because all men chase her." Linda ignored them. She didn't let their jealousy bother her. After all, she believed she had everything she could ever want. But there was one thing missing in Linda's life, a secret that weighed heavily on her heart. She longed to have a child, to feel the joy of holding her baby in her arms. At first, Linda wasn't worried. She told herself that when the time was right, she would meet the perfect man, get married and have children. But as years went by, something strange happened. No matter how many men she spent time with, she never got pregnant. At first, no one noticed. Linda was still young, and people assumed she was waiting for the right man to settle down. But as months turned into years, the villagers began to whisper, "Why doesn't Linda have a child yet?" they asked. "She has been with so many men. Surely one of them should have made her mother by now." The whispers grew louder, and soon, even the men who once adored Linda started to question her. Some thought she was cursed, while others believed she was too proud to become a mother. Linda tried to act like she didn't care. She kept smiling and walking through the village with her head held high. But inside, she felt ashamed and confused. Every night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what was wrong with her. "I'm beautiful," she thought. "I have everything a man could want. Why can't I have a child?" Linda began to feel desperate. The whispers in the village turned into open laughter. The women who had envied her now mocked her. "She just has a pretty face with nothing to show for it," they said. Linda's heart inched. She wanted to prove them wrong. More than that, she wanted to fulfill her dream of becoming a mother. One day, Linda made a decision that shocked even herself. She decided to sleep with every man in the village. "If I can't get pregnant with one, maybe another one will work," she thought. At first, Linda felt hopeful. She believed that this plan would finally give her the baby she longed for. But as time passed, nothing changed. Month after month, Linda waited for sign of pregnancy, but her body remained the same. The villagers noticed her actions. The men who once admired her began to lose interest. They didn't want to be associated with her anymore. The women who once envied her beauty now openly laughed at her. "She's not a queen," they said. "She's just a desperate woman who can't even have a child." Linda's once bright and happy life turned into a nightmare. She avoided the market and stayed home as much as possible. But no matter how hard she tried to hide, she couldn't escape the judgment of the villagers. One morning, Linda woke up with a new determination. She had heard about a doctor in the nearby town who would help women with fertility problems. Gathering all the courage she could, Linda decided to visit him. The journey to town was long and tiring. Linda felt nervous as she walked into the doctor's office. The walls were lined with certificates, and the doctor himself seemed kind and knowledgeable. After listening to Linda's story, the doctor ordered several tests. Linda waited anxiously for the results. When the doctor finally called her back into his office, his expression was serious. "Linda," he began gently, "I have some difficult news to share with you." Linda's heart pounded her chest. "What is it, doctor?" she asked, her voice trembling. The doctor sighed. "You were born without a uterus," he said. "This means you cannot carry a baby." Linda felt like the ground had been pulled out from under her. "No uterus," she repeated, as if saying the words would make them untrue. Tears streamed down her face as she realized what this meant. Her dream of becoming a mother would never come true. The doctor tried to comfort her. "There was other ways to have children," he said. "You can adapt, or..." But Linda wasn't ready to hear it. She left the office, her mind racing with questions. "Why me?" she thought. "Why did this happen to me?" The journey back to the village was the longest she had ever taken. When she arrived home, she locked herself in her house and cried for days. When Linda returned to the village, she didn't tell anyone about what the doctor had said. She tried to act as though nothing had happened, but the villagers could see the change in her. Her once bright smile was gone, replaced by a quiet sadness. It didn't take long for the gossip to start again. People began mocking her more openly. "The beautiful queen is nothing but empty shell," they said. "She can't even do what every woman is supposed to do." The women who once envied Linda now felt superior to her. They laughed at her when she walked past. "Look at her," they said. "All that beauty and nothing to show for it." Linda tried to ignore them, but their words cut deep. She stayed in her house most of the time, only going out when it was absolutely necessary. She felt trapped, as if the whole village was against her. One evening, as Linda sat alone in her small house, she stared at herself in the mirror. Her once lively eyes were now dull, and her face looked tired. "I'm not the Linda I used to be," she whispered to herself. But even in her sadness, Linda refused to give up. She still dreamed of being a mother, even if the path to that dream was unclear. One day, Linda went to the nearby river to fetch water. As she filled her pot, she noticed a group of children playing nearby. Their laughter filled the air, and Linda couldn't help but smile. One little girl in particular caught her attention. She had bright, curious eyes and playful smile. The girl's dress was torn and her hair was a mess, but she seemed happy. Linda watched her for a while, feeling a strange warmth in her heart. "Who is that child?" Linda asked one of the women standing nearby. "That's Hope," the woman replied. "She's an orphan. Her parents died last year, and now she lives at the orphanage in the town." Linda's heart ached for the little girl. As she walked back home, she couldn't stop thinking about Hope. For the first time in weeks, Linda felt a spark of hope in herself. That night, Linda lay awake, thinking about Hope. The idea of adopting her began to rot in her mind. If I can't have my own child, maybe I can give my love to a child who needs it, she thought. The next morning, Linda made up her mind. She would go to the orphanage and see if she could adopt Hope. The thought of becoming a mother, even in a different way, filled her with a sense of purpose. Linda dressed in her best clothes and set off for the orphanage. The journey was long, but Linda didn't mind. She was determined to bring Hope home. When Linda arrived at the orphanage, she was greeted by a kind woman named Sister Margaret. "I would like to adopt a child," Linda said. "There is a little girl named Hope. I would like to meet her." Sister Margaret smiled. "Hope is a wonderful child," she said. "Let me bring her to you." Few moments later, Hope walked into the room. She looked shy but curious. Linda knelt down and smiled at her. "Hello, Hope," she said softly. "My name is Linda." Hope looked at Linda for a moment before smiling back. "Hello," she said quietly. Linda felt a connection with Hope immediately. "Would you like to come home with me?" she asked. Hope nodded, her eyes lighting up. The process of adopting Hope took few weeks, but Linda didn't mind to wait. When the day finally came to bring Hope home, Linda felt like her heart was going to burst with happiness. As they walked through the village together, Linda held Hope's hand tightly. Some villagers stared while others whispered, but Linda didn't care. She had found her purpose. "This is my daughter," Linda said proudly to anyone who asked. At first, Hope was shy and quiet, but Linda's love and care soon brought out her playful side. The house, which had once been so quiet, now filled with laughter and joy. Linda poured all her love into raising Hope. She taught her how to cook, read, and care for herself. Hope's laughter became the music that filled Linda's house. The villagers who had once mocked Linda began to see her new light. "She's changed," they said. "She's no longer the desperate woman we used to laugh at." But Linda didn't care about what they thought. For the first time in her life, she felt truly happy. As months passed, Linda and Hope grew closer. They became more than just mother and daughter. They became best friends. Linda's heart, which had once been filled with pain and longing, was now full of love. Linda stopped worrying about what she didn't have and focused on what she had. She had Hope, and that was enough. As Hope settled into her new life with Linda, her cheerful nature began to change not only Linda's world but also the perspective of the villagers. Hope had a way of connecting with people, and that melted their hearts. One day, as Hope lay near the marketplace, she saw an old woman struggling to carry a heavy basket of yams. Without hesitation, she ran to help her. "Let me carry this for you, Grandma," she said sweetly. The old woman smiled. Her eyes softened. "You're a kind child," she said. "What's your name?" "I'm Hope," the little girl replied proudly. "I live with my mother, Linda." The old woman froze for a moment, then nodded. "Linda? She's a good woman to take you in. You're lucky to have her." When Hope told Linda about the encounter later that evening, Linda's heart swelled with pride. For the first time, she felt as though the villagers were beginning to see her differently, not as a woman to mock, but as a mother to admire. Though Linda's life with Hope was filled with joy, the whispers about her past hadn't completely faded. Some villagers still mocked her for her inability to conceive. One afternoon, as Linda and Hope walked to the river, a group of women stopped them. "Oh, Linda, One of them said with a mocking smile. "You've done well for yourself, taking in a child to hide your shame." Linda clenched her fist but kept her composure. "There's no shame in loving a child," she said firmly. "Hope is my daughter, and I'm proud to be her mother." Hope, sensing the tension, held Linda's hand tightly. "Let's go, Mama," she whispered. As they walked away, Linda felt a mixture of hunger and sadness. But when she looked down at Hope, who was smiling at her, she reminded herself that her love for her daughter was all that mattered. Over time, Linda and Hope became best friends. They did everything together: cooking, farming, and even attending village events. Hope's presence brought light into Linda's life that she had never known before. One evening, as they sat outside under the stars, Hope asked, "Mama, why did you choose me?" Linda smiled, her eyes glittering with tears. "Because I saw something special in you," she said. "You brought hope into my life when I needed it the most." Hope leaned against Linda, her small arms wrapped around her. "I'm glad you are my mama," she said softly. Linda held her closely, feeling a warmth in her heart that no amount of beauty or admiration from others had ever given her. As the years passed, Hope grew into a smart, kind-hearted young girl. The villagers began to see her as a blessing, and their attitudes towards Linda slowly changed. One day, during the village festival, Hope performed a traditional dance that left everyone in surprise. The elders praised her, saying, "This child is a gift to our village." Linda watched from the sidelines, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in a long time, she felt accepted, not for her beauty, but for the love she had given to Hope. The women who had once mocked her began to approach her, asking for advice on how to raise their children. "How did you raise such a wonderful child?" they asked. Linda smiled and said, "With love and patience." With her reputation restored, Linda found a new purpose in life. She began to help other women in the village, especially those who were struggling with motherhood. She shared her story openly, hoping to inspire others. "There is more to being a woman than having children of your own," she said. "Love can come in many forms." The villagers listened, and slowly, the laughter and gossip that had surrounded Linda turned into respect and admiration. As Hope grew older, she often told Linda, "I want to be like you when I grow up." Linda would laugh and say, "Be yourself, dear. That's all I want for you." But deep down, Linda knew that Hope had already become the kind, strong, and loving person she had always hoped to be. Linda's journey, which had begun with pain and rejection, had turned into a story of love and acceptance. And through it all, she learned that true beauty wasn't about how you look or how many people admired you. It was about love you gave and the life you built. Hope's kindness and Linda's strength began to transform the village. People started to care for one another more, inspired by the bond between Linda and her daughter. Even the women who had once been jealous of Linda now came to her for advice and friendship. "You've taught us so much," they said. "We're sorry for how we treated you." Linda forgave them, knowing that holding on hunger would only bring more pain. One sunny afternoon, as Linda and Hope were walking in their small garden, they heard a knock at the door. Linda wiped her hand and went to answer it. Standing at the door was a man Linda hadn't seen in years, Okello, one of the men who had once pursued her. He looked older, his confidence dimmer, replaced with humility. "Linda," he began awkwardly, I've heard about how you've turned your life around. I wanted to apologize for how I treated you back then." Linda stared at him for a moment, unsure of what to say. Finally, she nodded. "Thank you for saying that, Okello. It's in the past now." Okello hesitated before continuing. "I also want to thank you. Your story inspired me to adopt a boy from orphanage. He brought so much joy in my life." Linda's eyes widened in surprise. "That's wonderful," she said. A genuine smile spread across her face. As Okello left, Linda felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Her decision to adopt Hope had not only changed her life, but had also inspired others to open their hearts to children in need. That year, the village decided to hold a special celebration to honor mothers. The event was meant to recognize not only biological mothers but also women who had taken on the role of a mother in other ways. When Linda and Hope arrived at the celebration, they were greeted with a warm smiles. The village elder stood up and said, "Today we honor Linda, who showed us that love is what makes a mother, not just biological." Linda felt tears well up in her eyes as she walked to the front. Hope clung to her hand, beaming with pride. "Thank you," Linda said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I've never thought I'd find happiness after everything I went through. But Hope taught me that love can heal even the deepest wounds. I'm grateful to be her mother." The crowd cheered, and for the first time, Linda felt truly accepted by the people who had once rejected her. One evening, as Linda and Hope sat by the fire, Hope said, "Mama, when I grow up, I want to help other children like me. I want to open a home for orphans." Linda's heart soared with pride. "That's a beautiful dream, my dear," she said, "and I'll do everything I can to help you make it come true." From that day, Linda and Hope began to save money and making plans for the orphanage. It became their shared dream, a way to give back to the community that had once been divided. Linda and Hope started small, inviting the village children to their home for meals and games. The laughter of children filled the air, bringing joy to everyone who had it. As word spread, more people came to support their effort. Some donated money, while others offered their time and skills. Slowly but surely, Linda and Hope's dream began to take shape. The day finally came when Linda and Hope opened the door to their orphanage. They named it House of Hope in honor of a little girl who had changed Linda's life. The entire village came to celebrate the grand opening. Children ran through the walls, their laughter echoing off the walls. Linda stood back, watching with tears in her eyes. "You did it, Mama," Hope said, hugging her tightly. "No, we did it," Linda replied, smiling through her tears. As Linda's orphanage flourished, she began to find peace with her past. One day, she visited the grave of her parents, who passed away when she was a teenager. Standing before the grave, she said, "I hope you're proud of me. I've made a mistake, but I've found my purpose." The visit brought her a sense of closure, allowing her to fully embrace the life she had built with Hope. Over the years, Linda and Hope faced challenges, but their love and determination kept them strong. When funds for the orphanage ran low and the villagers came together to help, "You've given so much to this community," they told Linda. "Now it's our turn to give back." Linda realized that the love she had poured out into others are now being returned to her tenfold. As Hope grew older, she became more involved in running the orphanage. She also excelled in school, earning a scholarship to study social work in the city. Though it was hard for Linda to say goodbye, she knew that Hope was following her dreams. "Go and make a difference, my child," Linda said, hugging her tightly. "I will, Mama," Hope promised. With Hope away at school, Linda continued to run the orphanage with the help of the villagers. The once divided community had become a family, united by love and compassion. People who had once laughed at Linda now looked up at her as a leader and as a role model. Years later, Hope returned to the village, now a confident young woman. She brought new ideas and resources to expand the orphanage, making it a haven for even more children. Linda watched with pride as Hope took charge, knowing that her daughter was fulfilling her destiny. As Linda grew older, she reflected on her life with gratitude. She had gone from being a village beauty to a mother to a leader and a source of inspiration. Sitting on a porch of the orphanage one evening, surrounded by children and laughter, Linda smiled. "Love is the greatest gift we can give," she said softly. And with that, Linda's story became a legacy, one of hope, resilience, and informative. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for reaching this far. This is the end of our story. It has been an amazing story. Yeah, it was really good. Just leave something in the comment section. And bye bye. See you in my next video. I love you all.